All right, welcome to Reply Talk. We've got episode number 5. Episode number 5, we're going to cover the prospect experience and why we think that it's more important than the resident experience.
You're listening to Reply Talk, a podcast designed to provide actionable marketing strategies and valuable insights around apartment marketing. Hosted by Corbin Wright, entrepreneur, dad, and Renaissance marketer of the multifamily industry.
All right, so today we are focusing on the prospect experience.
Oh, my favorite.
Yes.
Love.
So we
love
hear a lot
talking
about
this.
we hear a lot about resident experience. It's like the hot topic right now. But we want to focus on the resident or the prospect experience because we feel pretty strongly about that, the importance of the prospect experience and what that actually means in multifamily marketing. So
Right, and I think there's a huge push for resident experience at the moment. I think there's kind of maybe not misconception, but a little gap in like what resident experience, you're selling and, how that affects or what that, looks like from a prospect side, right? Like I can't be a resident. I can't live your resident experience. I can't live all the great things about your community before, as a resident without being a prospect first.
Exactly.
So maybe you can touch on some of like from your experiences when you were in the industry, as a marketing manager, conventional, digital, all those things.
Yeah, so let's define kind of what the prospect experience is first. I think that's the best thing to start out with. And prospect experience is anything related to the search and finding a new home.
Right.
Whether that's through conventional efforts or through a digital journey.
Yeah.
So that's kind of defines it.
What do you mean by conventional?
So conventional is more of the drive by or seeing the signage, word of mouth.
Yep.
Those are more the conventional things, and I have experience in that through working in the multifamily marketing industry before this, of dealing with both sides of it.
Sure.
But we are reaching it's heavier on the digital side.
Yeah, I think I read a study recently that 80% of a prospect's journey when they're finding a new home, a new community, is done through search.
I believe it.
Digital.
Yeah,
that's where it's at.
And your digital footprint, just like it's everywhere. So you got to make sure that that's right, and that's what people resort to. It's instant. It's instant gratification. You want to know what apartments are near you. You search apartments near me.
Right.
So it does. Digital plays a huge role in
absolutely
in this prospect experience. So I guess rolling in to the
what
next
we
thing.
do.
What we do is more on the digital side of things.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about the prospect journey on the digital side, and what are those touch points? That's what we kind of want to cover today. What are the touch points on the digital journey for the prospect experience?
Absolutely. So for us, there's the organic realm, right? Mm-hmm. SEO, and then there's the paid realm. So whether that paid realm being PPC, whether that's social, there's multiple facets to that prospect journey. But I think one of the things that we've ultimately come to the conclusion about is that some sort of brand cohesiveness between the two strategies, making sure that there is that cohesiveness between your efforts, and creating that visibility and that cohesiveness through all the different digital channels that you're offering your prospect.
For sure. I agree. And I think that's what's you start to lose trust the more disconnected these touch points are.
Absolutely.
And that's really, I know that's what we focus on, is kind of creating that seamless omni-channel experience to make sure that we're connecting the dots from a paid standpoint, from an SEO standpoint. But what are some of the gaps that we're seeing? Let's talk about the gaps that we're seeing in these experiences and why prospect experiences is so important.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, prospect experience is so important because,
it's the first interaction.
Right, and I want to be able to live at your community before I actually live at your community. I want to feel like I can live, like I've lived at your community, or like I can envision myself, see myself in one of those apartment homes before I actually come to the property, right? All the things that you can do to sell me before I even get there, right? And then it's providing your leasing teams with all the information to be the most powerful salesperson they possibly can be. So I think when you talk about that omni-channel experience, right, is offering me all the channels that I want to communicate, creating that cohesiveness in your strategy. So I see the same thing no matter whether I go to apartments.com or I go to your SEM landing page, or I'm getting served a remarketing ad because I visited your website, right? A lot of that needs to be tailored properly. And what we're seeing is some gaps in what that message conveys, and what I'm seeing when I do that, when I go through that journey, so whether it be reviews, right? I think we've seen a huge influx of, a focus on reviews.
Yeah.
So I think there are some gaps, and you've got to have the basics right. You put the
harp on the basics a lot.
Basics all the time. Put the basics in play. Get the basics right. Focus on your reviews. Create that cohesiveness across all your strategies, and you'll find less gaps in your efforts.
For sure. So let's touch a little bit more on the touch points. So say that they're visiting your website. You mentioned whether it's through an organic approach or a paid approach, but also with your ILSs too, and making sure that information correlates. And there's a good experience with that too.
Right.
Because I always like to go back to the retail industry. And if you go to the website and you go to Walmart.com and you see an ad for Walmart.com, and then you go to their website and you see that product page and they don't link up and they're different, I instantly lose trust in
back button
in that. And then I'm going to go to Amazon. And
back
then I'm
button
gonna go
Amazon.
Yeah. So because you do know that Amazon, it's pretty seamless. They do a good job at creating this this omni-channel experience of having it. You have it on your app, you have it on the website. You can kind of get the same information everywhere, and it all links up.
Yeah, and I think if we go back to the basics of all that, right, is understanding what that journey looks like. Journey looks different for everybody, and having the basics set up to understand that journey is super important as well. So wanting to know how they communicate, wanting to know how they found you, what other sources did they pursue before they got to you, where they're at in their journey, when's their move-in date. Do I have the ability to push this lead down a 60-day road? Do I have the right follow-up set up in my CRM? Do I have those capabilities to treat them the necessary way to capture them 60 days down the road, 90 days down the road?
Yeah.
I'm moving in 5 months. Okay, well, I'm a leasing consultant. How do I set that up to make sure that they're still getting the information they need? They're still hearing from me next month, and the following month, and the month after that, or do they get sent to it as a dead lead?
And it's just lost in the lead road.
Right, lost in dead lead land. So understanding that journey is super important, and creating the processes to understand that journey is important as well.
I agree. So that's why we talk about this all the time. I think that it's just as important, the prospect experience, than the resident experience.
Sure.
You got to walk before you crawl, or you got to crawl before you walk.
Yeah.
And everybody's so focused on this resident experience, but it comes down to getting them right from the start, setting yourself up for success. Making sure you have a website that caters to your prospect. They're coming to lease an apartment, and not only do we want it to be easy for the prospect to lease or to find out more information in the way that they want to receive it, but kind of connecting the dots to when they do become a resident too. So making it easy for rental payment, making it easy to contact the leasing center for a maintenance order or getting their packages. So it really all starts in the beginning, setting that expectation.
And you talk about website, right? And setting up your website, having the right calls to action are super important too, right? There's got to be different calls to action for all the people that are visiting your website that are in a different spot in their journey, right? If I'm 90% of the way there, hell yeah, I'm going to click on that schedule a tour button, right? But if I'm not, right, I may go look for something else.
Yeah.
So I need all those calls to action in place that allow me to pursue where I'm at in my journey, where I want to go, where I want to be, what I want to do. Do I want some more information? Sure, I want to click some more information. I like that special that you have. I don't want to call though. So you've gotten the banner is for me to call.
Complicated.
Yeah, and just offer each spot in the journey. Try to offer all those calls to action that can that can lead to eventually being ready to lease that apartment.
I think you have to have the right blend of an attractive website, but don't complicate it by adding in all of these different animations, adding in all of this this crazy website, because at the end of the day, it's all about functionality and being able to do what you need to do.
Right.
I go to Amazon because I know what I want, and I know that I can search it and I can find it, and it's easy, and it's not overly complicated. So I don't think that I know that the process doesn't need to be as hard as it is on some of these websites, because people just want to know where to go. They want to know where your pricing's at. They want to know how they can get a hold of you, how to schedule a tour, how to submit a work order. So I'd be interested to get our listeners' feedback. What do you think the most important things are on a website? I do believe that photography and video is crucial, but the animations and making it hard for people to find what you need, it's not.
Well,
easy.
I think at the end of the day, it's ultimately about finding somebody that can work with you, that can provide the cohesiveness and the journey and the experience.
Yeah.
Kind of all in one, right? Maybe not just one website provider, but maybe one or two different vendors that are able to kind of function and work with you to develop the best strategy, the custom solution that works best for you, right? And not segmenting that between multiple different companies. Having somebody that can do a lot of what you're looking for and work with you to, as a property management company, to get the end result of what you're looking for, right? Don't segment or silo that information. Work with one or two to develop the best strategy. Keep the great minds working together, and come up with the best strategy for you. Don't silo that information.
Agreed. Okay, so that pretty much wraps it up. Why we find prospect experience so important.
I want to be able to live it before I live there.
Agreed. You want to build the dream.
Sell me the dream.
Yeah.
Tell me the story.
You want it to segue into an even better experience.
Right.
Keep that whole experience positive. So we'd like your feedback. We want to know if you think prospect experience is more important, or if you think resident experience is more important. We've actually debated with a couple people of what they think is more important.
What are some of the ways that you tell the story at your property? How do you sell the dream at your property to get people to come in? Is it video? What type of opportunities or avenues are you providing your prospect to live that dream before they actually live that dream? So we'd love to hear your feedback.
For sure. We're going to leave this. We think prospect experience is
super important.
Is just as important, if not more important, than resident experience. It sets the tone.
Yes, sir.
So give us your feedback. Send us a message on LinkedIn if you have any questions. Corbin,
Michael,
or visit us at our website, reply360.com, repli360.com, and leave us a review, 5-star on
the podcast, iTunes, Google.
That'll help us out a lot. So
thank you.
All right, guys. Thanks.
Thanks for joining us this week on Reply Talk. Make sure to visit us at reply360.com. That's repli360.com, where you can subscribe to the show. While you're at it, if you found value in this episode, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes.